So what I want to explore with you today is how we can get to better decisions. And we know that to get to better decisions, we have to empower our people. We have to empower our people to figure things out and get to the kind of decisions we want. And there are three elements to that I want to share with you today. The first one is the gathering of information, how we source our information and the kind of decision-making material that we need. The second step is to say, how do we now display it or map that information so we can start to work with it? And finally, we have to get some kind of approval for the decisions we want to make. How do we now present that information that we have assembled? So what I want to first of all explore with you is the gathering of information. And of course, there are many sources of information. We've got the internet, we've got things like Get Abstract. There are thousands of sources of information. But what we do know for absolutely certain these days, in the gathering of information process, that most of the information that we need sits in people's heads. So what we're wanting to do as much as possible is tap the value of group wisdom. In other words, tap into that knowledge that we have sitting in people's minds so as that we get as much of a divergent view on the issue as we possibly can. And that we call divergent thinking. The questions to get to that are what are absolutely key. If we want to get the quality, we have to ask the right questions. So in sharing with you, we would spend quite a lot of time figuring out what questions we need to ask. And the best way to get to the right questions is to use some form of template as a guide to the thinking that we need. So just to sum up on the gathering of information, the key principles that we've really covered now are the value of getting those ideas from people is by letting them silently generate their ideas, by writing those ideas on cards. And the second key principle that getting that to happen is that you remove a lot of the emotion out of the discussion, because now we don't have people saying, no, I don't like that idea. They all write their ideas. They eventually have to be displayed somewhere, but essentially that's the next point we'll cover. But essentially what we're talking about now is how do we collect and gather the right information. So now, having gathered the information and each person having written some cards, what we need to now do is get this information out and displayed so we can actually start to discuss it. And that we call mapping of the information. It's just another word for saying, how do we display the thinking that has gone through, that we've just gone through with the people? Because once we've got that information displayed, now we can start doing some analysis and interpreting what the ideas are that we need to work with. And having interpreted them and being clear about what we've got there, we can now start to debate the merits of the ideas that we have. And a critically important part about this is that because we're not evaluating the person behind the idea, we're actually evaluating the ideas, which is very important. And if we've once debated the ideas, then we can draw some conclusions based on those ideas and decide on what the way forward is. Now, in deciding the way forward, what we're now able to do is we're now able to reorganize that thinking, because we can very easily move these cards from one place to another. So we can reorganize the thinking of the group that we've had. And very importantly, we can create some flow and a logic to the information that we have. So the key principles that we've covered here are all of the information is available, which is a value of having everything displayed that we have it. Because the cards can be easily moved, we can get rid of a card, we can add a card, we can shift the ideas around. More ideas can be added. And very important thing, because the ideas are visible, we don't have a lot of repetition that takes place in a normal meeting. So we avoid, again, introducing a whole lot of emotion into a meeting. So what we've now done is we have generated a lot of ideas and information. We started to map this information onto the boards. Now we maybe have changed the logic and got a new order out of this, but essentially we've developed this material into something that can be presented. So the next step is presenting this information so that we can get a decision ultimately. So the first step in the process is to use the displayed information as a prompt. So this card is my prompt. It's telling me what to talk about and how to do it. That means I'm much more able to keep the whole process and the conversation simple and understandable. I can stop and I can engage the audience and I can say, is that okay? Does that make sense? And so we've got that whole interaction with the audience. But it also means that I'm able to maintain my pace, and very important in making sure that this comes across well is that I have the confidence to put the ideas across and that I'm enthusiastic about the ideas. So there is automatic swelling up of buy-in and wanting to be part of this. And because I can stop and get that feedback, it encourages the audience to engage with the presenter. So the biggest plus out of all of this is, in fact, the audience engagement. And very importantly in that process is the fact that it saves so much time, because everything is now visible and available. It's much, much easier to understand and absorb this information, which means we get to better decisions and a buy-in by the group as to those decisions. So the key principles we're talking about here is that we can keep referring back to ideas as we're presenting, so that because we've got all the information. We can stop and ask the audience for input and engage with them. And most importantly, the cards are the prompt that keeps the presenter on track. So just to repeat what we've been through as an exercise is we've done the thinking and we've done the analysis and we've done the presenting the ideas. It's all designed to empower people, to make them feel part of the business, to give them a role, to make them feel good about being interactive in that business. But most importantly, it's arriving at better decisions. And after all, that is our key objective. For more information, contact Peter Thomas. Telephone number 082 558 2817. Email address peterT@participlan.co.za. All of this information is available on our website, www.participlan.co.za.